about the plan for the local area. Firstly, we need the context. Why are we doing this planning? Well, notwithstanding a terrible flood, we do need to look to the future, and it doesn't for a moment deter us in terms of our vision for this city. And what is our vision for Brisbane? Well, it's in the phrase, Australia's New World City. We are very positive about this city's future. It is clearly catching up on Sydney and Melbourne in terms of its importance economically, socially, culturally, politically. Brisbane has come a long way just in the last 10 to 15 years, and we're convinced that with the plans that we have, it will be even more prominent on the national stage. So our whole approach is to cater for growth, to make sure that as people come to Brisbane, we have appropriate locations for new residential properties, new commercial and industrial development. We aren't anti-growth people, but we appreciate there's been some significant challenges in recent years due to growth pressures. That's due to a lack of planning in the past, but also due to a lack of infrastructure delivery. Our plans are all about ensuring that we work with the community to actually locate the new dwellings, the new businesses. So a few years ago, we sat down in a number of forums and engagement sessions, and we worked with ultimately about 50 to 60,000 people across Brisbane to work out where would accommodate the new dwellings. And we have to accommodate 156,000 new dwellings in Brisbane by 2026. That's what the state government have laid down for us. So if Cameron was here today, he would be able to talk to you if we had some questions on this about how the state are planning the southeast corner of Queensland. But anyway, our job's to 156,000 new dwellings. Where will they go? So we came up with through talking to the community, a multi-centred city strategy. So what that means is that there'll be more dwellings in the CBD core, at some key growth centres around Brisbane, and they are places like Chermside, Carindale, Garden City and Indooroopilly. Some secondary centres, Wynnum, Toombul, Toowong and Mitchelton, and then along key transport corridors. So from the city north through where I live, up the Lutwyche Road corridor through to Lutwyche, and to a certain extent out west along Coronation Drive and Milton Road to Toowong, and then in the local area, in the local context, along this new busway that has been constructed from Veranda through Stones Corner and ultimately out to Carindale and even further to Capalaba. And so we have done a plan over the last few years called the Eastern Corridor Neighbourhood Plan, which is about ensuring that we have along the old Cleveland Road and the busway corridor new development opportunities. So the idea is to revitalise the following precincts: the Veranda precinct, the Veranda Station precinct, Stones Corner precinct, Langlands Park, Coorparoo and Bennett's Road. Each of the precincts within the plan have their own role and specific functions, along sort of through the context of a broader context of centres. And the idea is that all the new development will be located within a 5 to 10 minute walk of a busway station. I want to be very clear that our administration might build a lot of new road infrastructure projects like the tunnels, like our road action program projects across the city, but we're very determined to try and do everything we can to get people onto public transport, because ultimately we have to get more trips in Brisbane being undertaken through the use of buses or trains or ferries, or indeed cycling or walking, as opposed to private motor vehicles. So by taking the opportunity with a new piece of great infrastructure, the busway, to then locate new residential development near to that busway, we believe we can actually take the pressure off our road system. And then at each of the locations that I mentioned, those precincts, by trying to have not only the residential opportunities, but also commercial opportunities and sort of the places where people can recreate, whether it be restaurants or gyms or whatever. We can have these little villages located along the busway, and hopefully people can actually live, work and play in those local areas. Now, a lot of work's been done on this. There's no doubt many people in the room who have had some involvement over the last few years, and these processes do take a long time. Often people say to me, gee, when are you guys going to get on and fix up Coorparoo? Well, I acknowledge that it has been a long journey, but it is important to try and sort of get everyone's views and take people with us, because we believe we've done that through the strategy that's now been incorporated into then a plan that's now in its final stages. But you never get everybody on side, and if you try and rush these things, you inevitably get a lack of support. So just some of the timeline on this. We put out a strategy in October 2009 for public consultation. There was about 69% at the time on that. We then drafted the Eastern Corridor Neighbourhood Plan, and it's the actual statutory plan which is signed off by council and then by the state government, which has legal effect to actually control land use in that whole area. It controls the land use, the built form and streetscape outcomes that we want to achieve through the precincts. The neighbourhood plan went out in July 2010 for public notification. We had residents and local businesses make submissions on the plan. Just to seize the nettle, of course, one of the big concerns that people had were building heights and building heights around Coorparoo. However, many people, and I'd say still a majority, saw the plan as, in an overall sense, as positive for the local area, and people, I think, saw that it would revitalise Coorparoo. So we then resolved in council last year on the 7th of December to proceed with the plan, and since the 8th of December last year it's been sitting with the state government. So if Cameron was here today, we'd be going, come on Cameron, talk to Minister Hinchliffe. As soon as it comes out, as soon as we can get on with the thing. So what will you see here down in Coorparoo? Well, you'll see office, retail and residential accommodation, the opportunity for wider city views. Something we're very proud about, it's an essential feature of the whole thing, is a new park just out adjacent to my right over through here. Currently costed around $29 million. The park serves two purposes. One, with higher density, with more people, you need the sport and recreational or parkland areas, but there's also, as many of you know, some flooding issues, long-term flooding issues here in Coorparoo. By building a new park, by actually resuming some acquiring some properties and actually building that park, we actually have the opportunity to undertake some flood mitigation work. I've talked about public transport with a new busway coming through here. This node, if you like, of Coorparoo will have great public transport servicing it, and it also will be, I believe, something that will again have all those various features that will allow people to live, work and play in the local area. Just one final thing I wanted to talk about before I sort of closed and opened a question was the issue of about the whole issue of change, and also the issue of the intersection up here at Cav Road and Old Cleveland Road. Firstly, on change and the issue of these building heights. Sometimes people say, oh dear, you're just going to go and build high-rise slums. Well, I put to people that in the last 20 years, irrespective of political administration in the BCC, that the urban renewal work that has been undertaken in Fortitude Valley, in Newstead and Tenerife, and New Farm, has been a towering success. If you think right now what was there back in 1990, there were run-down old commercial precincts, industrial precincts, and today some of the most desirable real estate you can find in Brisbane. You know, I don't think anybody would say that down at the old Wolf Stores area or down where the Coca-Cola plant used to be at James Street, that it's been a failure. In fact, it's been the reverse. It has shown, indeed, as a case study for the world, how well you can do this sort of urban renewal. I say to you today, this Eastern Corridor Neighbourhood Plan, but particularly the work that will happen in Coorparoo, will get exactly the same outcome. That's what we're about. We're after great architecture, terrific public space, the investment in new parks and the like, as I've mentioned, and community facilities to actually really take this area forward. So if you are concerned, go and have a really good look at what's happening down, or what has happened in the last 20 years down in those urban renewal areas at Newstead and New Farm. I think you'll see where we're coming from. Finally, just as a minor thing, but an important thing, the old bugbear about the intersection of Cav Road and Old Cleveland Road, it does need to be fixed. We've made changes recently in terms of the traffic signals, but it wasn't until this plan had gone through the system that we had certainty about how the busway was going to work, could we really go and address these issues. The way is now clear to do that, particularly now that the state own a significant amount of the land down here. It's still not going to happen overnight, but we're conscious of the issue, and the intersection will be upgraded over the next few years with the cooperation of the state government. So in conclusion, we have a vision for the overall city. We have a very clear vision and plan now for the Eastern Corridor, but particularly Coorparoo. We're going to be delighted to work with the private sector and the community to actually fulfil this vision. There is now a very exciting time for the local community. We really can see this area once again be a shining location for, particularly for retail in the eastern suburbs of Brisbane, as it once was, say, 40 or 50 years ago. So thank you for having me today, and again, I'll be I always indicate this, I'll be delighted to take your questions. Thank you.